about 7 o'clock on Tuesday, September 26th, and we just left home about a half hour ago. The kids are at home with their favorite babysitter. They were so excited to have her because we haven't had her over in a while, so that was fun for them.
And they're at home with a babysitter because we are headed to a presentation meeting for Kady this morning. It's a meeting where her GAL and caseworker and pretty much kind of anybody associated with her case the past 2 years just compiles everything together about her family, about her, all the information that they know, and they present it to us just to see it like kind of like a last step. Okay, here's everything we know about her. Full disclosure, do you still want to adopt her? So that's exciting. That's where we're headed today. And hopefully, after today, we'll have a better idea of when the adoption will be.
Yeah, we were told it should be next month. So that's exciting. And it sounds like we have to have this meeting, and then the adoption coordinator can ask the court for an adoption date, which should be as soon as next month.
Yeah.
So we're excited about that. We're excited to sort of cross this bridge today, and we're not sure if it will be emotional hearing all about her past and stuff, or if it won't be any new information. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to just see what kind of information they come up with. It's an interesting thing about foster care is that's pretty typical. I mean, Kady's had, I don't know, 3 or 4
caseworkers.
4 caseworkers, 2 GALs, and so now she's on her 4th caseworker, who's pretty new to the case, so she doesn't know anything. So she has to go back and try to find the other 3 caseworkers and find out what they knew. And so that's the weird thing about foster care is these kids have so many different people throughout the time that they're in foster care that it's hard for them to know, the caseworkers to find out what information that we need to know, because they don't really even know it or know how to get it. So hey, we just had our meeting. We got our date for November for the adoption, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
So we're having a quick lunch here at Neater's. Just since we got a babysitter, we figured we might as well eat. So I have a little BLT here. Lindsay's got
soup and a panini.
So there you go. We'll give you a little bit more information later, but it's exciting right now. We got a date. We got an adoption date. We're on a date, and it's cool. Things are moving forward. So yeah, we'll talk to you later. Tell you a little bit more about how the meeting was. Yeah, it was okay. Bye.
Hi guys.
Hey.
So it's the next day, and we just wanted to finish up talking about the presentation meeting we went to yesterday. I think we just needed a day to digest everything that we had heard, and it was a little bit emotionally draining, so we were kind of tired the rest of the day yesterday. But overall, I feel like the meeting went well. I feel like we knew most of the information that they went over in the meeting. They had a report typed up, maybe like a 5-page report called a Child and Family Study with everything they knew about the case. And I feel like we probably knew 80 or 90% of the information. So otherwise it would have been really overwhelming and emotionally draining, but we had already processed a lot of it over the past 2 years. They also had a stack of probably 15 pictures from one of Kady's visits with her dad. So I'm really thankful that we got that to share with her. And then we got her birth records. I think that was about everything as far as I can remember.
Yeah, I think that was about everything that we got from them.
Yeah, so we got to see how much she weighed when she was born and what hospital she was born at, and we didn't know any of that before, so that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was just an interesting meeting to go to. Obviously, we'd never been to one before. And it was funny, our home supervisor had also never been to one before. And some of the people that at our agency had never been to one. So it was interesting just to see, even, in the same state, how different counties do things differently in the foster care system. Yeah, I mean, it was a good meeting, exciting, and on one end because we got our adoption date.
I don't know if we said that
Yeah,
before. It's November 16th.
National Adoption Day, so that's exciting,
That's
and fun. And
we thought it was going to be next month, but next month was full.
yeah,
So that was a little disappointing, but I think it will probably be cool to be a part of National Adoption Day. I think that's a big deal, and the adoption coordinator said that they usually make it a celebration, so maybe they'll have fun things for the kids to do or something to make it a little extra special.
yeah, so that'll be fun. So that was the exciting part, and then also it was sad a little bit, like Lindsay talked about earlier. Just even though some of the stuff, most of the stuff that they're talking about, it's just sad when you're reading over the details of her life and they're reading it to you. It just kind of hits you in a different way. Even though you know it, it's still very emotional. And then it was also just not sad, but kind of, I guess, should have been expected. But, we went in thinking the meeting was all about, we just want a full disclosure, just so you go into it knowing, you still want to adopt her, and you still, even though you know everything, do you still want this little girl? And really, it's mostly just about them telling you everything so that you can't later come back and say, well, hey, you never told me this. They'll say, hey, this person in her life had this illness, which could be hereditary later on in life. And what we thought, telling us that so we couldn't maybe in 10 years say, well, hey, you never said, well, yeah, it's right here on the paperwork. So I think, that's a lot of what the meeting is them trying to, protect them, and also be full disclosure, but really full disclosure to help them out, really more than help the foster parents out.
Yeah.
But it was a good meeting. We went to lunch afterwards. I think you saw some of that video, and had a little date just to kind of process what we just heard. So
yeah, so overall it was good. We heard a little bit more detail about Kady's life before she went into foster care. That was stuff we had not heard before.
yeah.
And then they also shared with us her parents' upbringing, where they grew up, and some of the situations that led to the situations they're in now. And we didn't know any of that before. And I just feel like God is using that to build compassion in us for them, for their circumstances, and some of them are beyond their control, just based on their upbringing. And then also learning more about Kady's trauma, it helps build compassion in us for her.
Yeah, definitely.
And so that's really, really valuable as her parents. But so yeah, we just wanted to share that with you guys. This is one of the final steps in the adoption process. The adoption coordinator said the next time we see her will be at the adoption, at the hearing. She also told us the questions that the judge will ask us, and told us how many people we can invite to the hearing, and how that our kids can come and have them bring something to do in case there's a wait. And so she prepared us for that day also. And so we're really getting to the end.
Yeah,
it's
exciting.
I feel like it never felt like we would get to this point. It also feels like it gives us a sense of hope that getting back into foster care, I feel like, okay, we see how this finally does come to an end, even though for 2 years it felt like it would never end. And I just feel like renewed, okay, I do think we could do this again, because it doesn't drag on forever.
Yeah.
So that's been really refreshing.
Yeah, it has been. And I think it also gives us a good perspective as to how long foster care, how long it actually takes to go through the whole process. I mean, because we've had 8 kids, 5 foster kids in and out of our home in the past 2 years. 6, I'm sorry.
I think.
Yeah, 6. And all of their situations have been different, but not being where we are now. You just think, man, what's taking so long? We've had these kids for 12 months, 13 months, 16 months. Why is it taking so long? Mm-hmm. And you can, now where we are now, we can see, oh, okay, so Kady was in the foster care system for, almost 3 years. Situation with the other foster kids, where theirs, wasn't as extreme as hers. And hers still took almost 3 years, so it just gives us a better perspective of, okay, it really does take a long time, especially even in an extreme case like this. It took 3 years. So in cases where, maybe the parents aren't doing anything, but they're doing just a tiny bit, you can see how, well, that's going to take even a lot longer. So it gave us a good perspective.
Yeah.
In that.
I think that that experience is really, really valuable. Like, next time around, if parents aren't coming to visits for several months, we won't feel so worked up. Let's get this going, because that's just not the way it works, no matter how cut and dry the case is. I think it will help us emotionally deal with the next case.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So anyways,
Right.
Thanks for watching, and I hope that this encourages somebody out there who's going through this, or gives you a little bit of heads up about what your presentation meeting might be like.
Yeah. See ya.